and I'm the coordinator of the Digital Competences Development System project, which has a very important outcome, which is a set of policy recommendations exactly addressing digital competences development of adults, which will be soon presented by Francesca Operti, my teammate in the project. She's from the European Association of Education of Adults, and it was your role, your responsibility, and your effort, your very valuable contribution to help us formulating a set of recommendations to policymakers and stakeholders addressing this key topic. And actually, we have some representatives of the project partners in this room. Maybe you can raise your hands who are also contributing to the implementation of this very important project. This is a good forum to thank you for your hard work and contribution to the implementation of the project. So it's an Erasmus Plus funded program. It's a forward-looking cooperation project, which you may know those projects are to identify. There is a critical issue here. Identify, test, develop, and assess innovative policy approaches and recommendations to improve training and education systems. So the DCDS is an attempt for that. And the project has been running for 2 years, and we are now at the end. So we are here to present the policy recommendation results of it. It's been implemented by a partnership of 8 organizations, 2 European networks, so DIGITAL and the European Association of Education of Adults. We have an open university in the partnership from Greece. We have a national ICT association from Latvia. Then we have digital digital competence centers from Romania, from Spain, and 2 from different regions of Italy. So what's the rationale, what's the idea behind DCDS? Basically the 43% of which has been discussed, where we want to help, especially those who have no or very low digital skills, translating it to DigComp, those who are at proficiency level of 1 and 2. So basically who have low digital skills, and our system would like to improve that situation. So we designed the DCDS a system, Digital Competence Development System, as an integrated modular system fully mapped onto DigComp 2.1 to assess, develop, and to validate basic digital and also transversal skills of adults who have low digital skills, and we did it in 5 countries, in Greece, Latvia, Italy, Romania, and Spain. And the specific objectives we wanted to achieve is basically improve the basic digital skills of adults. Those who are more than 25 years old, who have low digital skills, and we designed a blended learning approach for them. But we also want to support training organizations, training providers who would like to put DigComp into practice and design and develop training programs for low-skilled adults. But we also want to empower policymakers and stakeholders from different fields of education and training to help or to provide recommendations, inputs to formulate integrated policies for developing and recognizing adult citizens' basic digital competencies. And we have been collecting and analyzing evidence through a pilot, through a training program from 5 European countries. Now I'd like to ask you to. You have a brochure somewhere on your table. I should have one here. I have one. So this is the DCDS brochure, and in the middle, or if you open it up, you can see a little poster, so which helps you to understand the system itself. Digital Competence Development System has two sides basically. We have developed a methodology, how we approach the development of digital skills of low-skilled adults. And we also have an environment, an online platform, which has certain features to support this. So that methodology itself, as I mentioned, is a blended learning approach, implementing distance learning and face-to-face learning, and using the principles of adult education. We have developed 95 learning outcomes mapped to DigComp 25 competencies, and we are focusing at foundation proficiency levels 1 and 2. We have designed 4 different learning pathways, 19 thematic modules, 64 learning units. We have prepared handbooks for learners and for trainers and for training providers. We have an assessment system, formative and summative tests, and we have a validation system through certificates and badges. On the other side, there's an online platform which is supporting this. We have a self-assessment tool for the users to identify, to test their skills, to identify the gaps they may have in digital competencies. Then we have a recommender tool built on the self-assessment tool that suggests an appropriate learning path for the learners. We have a modular training content. We have assessment tests, we have badges to validate users' achievements. We even have some gamification features to raise the interest and also the motivation of learning adults. And we have some other tools like forums, which help the communication of teachers and learners. Just a list of key results, and then I'm giving the floor to Francesca. So we have developed a methodology aligned or mapped to DigComp 2.1. Now we have a multilingual online assessment and learning environment. The modular training context is presently available in 6 different languages. I mentioned we have books for education providers, trainers, training organizations. We have reports on piloting and also a mapping report on inclusion policies and practices in the participating countries. And we have also designed a policy influence toolkit for adult training providers and a set of policy recommendations which are based on the piloting experience and other project results. The pilot was implemented in this mentioned 5 countries. Nearly 200 people participated, a number of trainers involved, and the most important thing is that the system proved itself, and it's not only we could observe the increased skills and competencies, but also to a great extent the self-confidence the growth of self-confidence of the target audience. So if you want to find out more, you can find the contact information and details in the brochure on our website and also on the platform. And now, Francesca, I ask you to continue with the policy recommendations.
Thank you so much. I'm very happy to see that actually some of them are shared, were shared already before, so I just say 2 words about the document that is not published yet, because we want to include still your feedback and also the feedback of the peer review of the countries in which we are working. But the content is already there. We want to set policy objectives. We want to propose changes that are needed to increase the number of adults having basic skills, digital skills of course. Propose how to explore the project outputs, which are many and are really, really inspiring. And then also to empower key stakeholders to formulate integrated policies, and this is part of it. This event was also had the aim to make different policymakers and stakeholders talk to each other. The target groups of the document are the following, so European policymakers, national and regional, because in some countries the education competence is at the regional level, like for instance in Italy, is part of the consortium Italy, and then local authorities. We have heard that local authorities, but in general the local level is very, very important, and we hope to reach the policymakers there as well. The policy recommendations are in line with the All Digital Manifesto that was recently launched. The reason why we need digital competencies is stated there, and it's self-evident. And we both, All Digital and all the members of All Digital and EAEA believe that very much. But also the policy recommendations are also in line and of course take into consideration the current policies. We heard before the Upskilling Pathways Initiative, the Digital Education Plan, and the European Social Pillar, for instance. So maybe briefly I can bring you through the documents, and in particular the policy recommendations for the European policymakers, because we have some in the room. So the first recommendation is to put basic digital competencies higher in the agenda. We know that many initiatives are there, but we also know that a lot of European people living in Europe are struggling with digital competencies. So I think a lot can still be done at the political level. Integrated policies are needed. We have seen that there are bits and pieces done, very important initiatives done, but sometimes there is a bit of synergies can be created, and then we will certainly benefit from those. I've heard before that the narrative is already there. What we have seen in the consortium instead is that DigComp is not always known at the national and local level. We would like the European policymakers to promote a narrative on that, maybe to make member states aware of the importance or the richness of DigComp. We do believe that this can be helpful. When it comes to validation as well, we have a recommendation. We believe that validation is key to achieve a holistic lifelong learning perspective. And we do believe that validation can be a tool to bring to motivate people to learn more if we start from recognizing what they have. And when it comes to digital competencies, we can start from somewhere. So the DCDS self-assessment tool can be used to develop a framework to validate digital competencies. Two recommendations focus on the need for mutual learning. So we would like to encourage the Commission to continue the work done so far in bringing member states together, policymakers at different levels together to learn from each other. But we would also like the European policymakers to support the community of practice created by All Digital that is specifically on DigComp, because in there we see that some work can still be done. We have talked about research before. We were thinking about the benefits of digital competencies, but they can be what we heard before. Also, is certainly very interesting to understand how the challenges were faced in different countries. but yes, we would appreciate that for the future. And then also civil dialogue for lifelong learning. This is a bit the basis. No, we have seen that some policies are focused on the school education. Others are maybe focused on vets. We would like to see, because we are also in Lifelong Learning Week, and we do believe in that civil society for lifelong learning, civil dialogue for lifelong learning is very important. When it comes to the national and regional policy makers, I took only a few of the recommendations. This is why you see the numbers. I do have some basic numeracy skills, but I just selected those where I think we can share more when it comes to examples. So what we would like the member states to do, or the regions that are competent for developing educational policies, to organize an offer based on DigComp. So the DCDS project offer already a very rich methodology, and this can be certainly used. We would like the offer to be accessible, learner-centered and tailor-made. We have very good examples, also of course from EAEA. But for instance, the citizens curriculum developed by our member Learning and Work, and now piloting in Finland. So also Finnish. Well, also in Finland they can learn from other countries. So what I can share when it comes to the DCDS project is the recommender that was mentioned by Peter before. It's a very good tool to make the courses tailor-made on the basis of what learners need. We can of course talk about accessibility and how to remove the barriers for adult learning, but it will take the whole evening. Read the policy recommendation and also talk to us. We also have our EAEA Secretary General Gina Ebner over there. When it comes to what was actually mentioned before, it's super important to valorize all kind of learning offers. We do believe that non-formal learning can be an entry point for basic for people in need of basic skills because of its flexibility, for its sometimes low threshold but not low quality. So what we call policymaker for is really to valorize it and support it more. Whereas also, well, we also heard it before, in-service training, so often trainers and educators are not, well, let's say they need to keep the pace with the innovation, and they also need to be ready to teach digital skills and this critical thinking on digital skills that is needed. So in-service training is very important, and at the same time also quality. I think these 2 points are actually in line with what our colleague from the Commission was saying, the trust. So we need people to trust the system, so quality is important for that. And when it comes to motivation instead, she mentioned trust and motivation, I would really refer to the 4th recommendation, so the learner-centered and tailor-made, because when people realize that the learning is for them and is needed, then they are motivated to learn. We heard it before as well, we need guidance. We don't, because we are talking about people with low basic skills, we can't assume that they attend a course and then they proceed somewhere else, either with a job, or I think it's really important to take care of the person. And when it comes to progression, guidance offers should be there. We refer to the Nordic countries. There are very good examples in Ireland. In Iceland, where guidance actually managed to bring people one step up into their lives. Another recommendation is to involve policy in policy design and monitoring providers and their representatives. And then again, cooperation is key at different levels and in different fields. I said Ireland because I had this in my head. So there is an example from Ireland called One Step Up, and is actually an initiative that allows people to find in the website and in the website what is needed for them. So different kinds of offers, and there is a whole group of people, of professionals working on that from different sectors of education and not only. So this is also very it's worth to check. When it comes to local authorities, as I said, super important target group. The spaces that are important to learn. So we heard before about libraries. We can think of the telecenters that all digital was is still represented, but the places where actually people can go if they come from a rural area and maybe don't have access to internet or to the last version of a device, then maybe they can find it there. So, and we have heard also that the funding is cut. So we are calling local authorities to support those spaces. When it comes to encourage participation, we're actually asking local authorities, but also that can also be done, of course, at the national and at the European level, to initiate targeted actions. That can be awareness-raising campaigns, that can be support open days, again, maybe at the libraries, but also, for instance, award digital learners that were that champions, or like that they could bring their experience, and maybe they can also show the benefits of learning digital competencies. Reach out to underrepresented groups. That's quite self-evident when it comes to low digital people. We shouldn't stay in our own organization and in our own institutions, but we need to go out there and find people where they are. We at EAEA have a few projects on that, and yeah, it's a challenge. It can be done sometimes even with not so many resources. Networks of training providers, this is also very important, and this also goes a bit together with the fact that the funding sometimes is missing, or the Inservice opportunities are missing. So networks are key when it comes to develop, improve capacity, develop innovation, and exchange good practices, of course. Dialogue and cooperation at the local level is also key, and we ask local authorities to found it and support it. And then an example there we have Cité des Métiers, something that was just opened here in Brussels, and it's quite interesting because it brings all, a lot of providers and a lot of opportunity in a same place. And this not only is helpful for the learner, but also for for fostering the dialogue between different providers and stakeholders from different fields. And I guess that's it. So we would really like to know what you think on those. But before that, I would like to give the floor to Susana Oliveira, who is the board member of the Lifelong Learning Platform, to comment on this. Please be kind.